My female 25, husband 30, was diagnosed with leukemia. Unfortunately, he didn't start receiving treatment right after his diagnosis because of how weak his body was. His health hasn't improved. It's not looking good so far. He keeps getting worse and I'm constantly worried about him. Lately, he's been in and out of the hospital, so my stepmom offered to help and sent my sister, 19, to our apartment to cook and clean. I'm away from home most of the time, and my sister would show up for hours every day to take care of the apartment. However, I recently noticed stuff going missing, stuff that belonged to my husband, specifically his wristwatch and some electronic devices apart from his phone. So I asked my sister about them, and she claimed she didn't see them. I kept noticing more of my husband's possessions disappear with time, which drove me nuts as I kept questioning my memory since I like sleep. I decided to lock the bedroom as a solution, but I lost the key later. Another thing I noticed is that my sister keeps asking about my husband nonstop, not about his health, but about what he has or doesn't have, which was weird. In the past couple of weeks, my husband was readmitted to the hospital, and I was with him the entire time. I went home at 4 p.m. to get my clothes changed, and for some reason, I had a strong feeling to check our indoor camera. I saw my sister walking in and out of our bedroom and had my husband's possessions in her hands. She took his wristwatches, his gaming device, and other possessions with monetary value. I was confused, but then figured she was taking his stuff and going home with it. I went to my dad's house and confronted her, thereby showing everyone the video, but she still denied it. After I asked her if she was selling her sick brother-in-law's possessions, she kept denying it until she finally confessed, saying she needed money to pay off debts and rent. She thought that since my husband was so sick, then those possessions weren't necessary. Everyone was shocked, including Dad. I yelled that she was taking advantage of my sick husband to sell his stuff and make money, completely dismissing the fact that if I happen to lose him, those possessions become priceless. She started crying after I asked her in front of everyone if she was relying on him not returning home to notice the missing stuff, and called her gross and disgraceful for doing this to him while he was down and struggling. Everyone berated her and went off on her. My stepmom heard about it later and called and was angry, saying I should have taken my sister aside, not confront her, and accused her of being a thief in front of the whole family. I argued, asking if she was okay with her taking and selling my husband's possessions, and she said no, but I went about this completely wrong. So now everyone has shamed my sister after I publicly exposed her, knowing she had a reason to do what she did, which is rent, and she's a kid and made a mistake. Besides, she helped, so that should mean something to me. Did I go too far? Not the idiot. Call the cops and press charges for her theft. She needs to find out the consequences of her very stupid actions, and justifying it like it's an okay thing is sick. The good news is that rent is pretty cheap in jail. Yes and no, you didn't go too far. However, what she did is unforgivable, and so is what your family is doing. How dare they excuse this? How dare they think this should have been done in private when she was stealing from a family who was dying? I put them all in a timeout, period. Get friends to help instead. I'm sure you have lots who would drop everything to help and not steal. None of them are worth your time and love right now, not only because of what she did to your husband, but what she's done to you and the fact they are condoning the behavior. You did not go too far. Make her give back everything she can, not the idiot. And don't let your stepmom enable her by keeping her thieving private. Everyone in the family should know what kind of heartlessness she's capable of. Make a police report. If you have a police report showing the stolen items, most pawn shops will immediately give back the items. This is because they cannot legally sell stolen goods. Find out from her where she sold them. Stop letting her get away with this. Exhausted or not, your husband did not deserve the callousness that your sister displayed. She knows right from wrong. Update. I got some of the stuff back, but she's already sold the rest. I'm honestly so upset, but clearly I have no energy to fight with her or my stepmom. I'm ashamed and don't want to tell my husband. My 26 male, sister Maya, 25, is engaged to a man from a Middle Eastern culture. We were raised with no religion or significant ethnic customs. Her wedding is set for next year. I also just got a save the date from one of my college friends on the same date in a different part of the country. Now, usually it sucked to miss a friend's wedding, but sister probably overrules friend. The thing is, her wedding is going to be in the custom of her fiance's family, which is to segregate based on gender and not allowing alcohol, meaning I'd have to be sober and not even allowed to hang out with my girlfriend. That sounds like a boring time for both of us. My friend's wedding is more normal American, and that there are no separations and it's an open bar. My girlfriend and I are both pretty good friends with the bride and groom, and it will also be much more fun. I told Maya that I was not comfortable with the setup of her wedding and would go to my friends instead, and she was super angry at me. I told her if they have a more normal one, I'd go, but I'm not going to spend money traveling and for a hotel to be sober for a weird wedding, and not even to be allowed to dance with my girlfriend when I could go to a good friend's wedding and have a great time instead. My parents are kind of angry with me too. My dad said I should put my girlfriend first and agrees it won't be nearly as good of a time. My mom isn't exactly thrilled about the culture Maya's marrying into. It's very sexist, and said while she's sad I won't be in the pictures, she gets it. However, Maya's not taking it well and keeps texting me about it, accusing me of being a bad brother and of being xenophobic. That's not accurate, as if it was another culture that allowed men and women to spend time together at weddings, or at least drink. I'd go, but this is just weird. So right now, I'm just leaving her on red while I think of what to say. Not the idiot. I am from this culture, and the younger generation themselves are trying to change these things, except ones who follow religion strictly. So I don't know why your sister would agree to this if she's not brought up with this culture, but you're right to refuse to go to the wedding. And as a Muslim woman, I'd like it if Western people didn't support misogyny for the sake of being woke or respectful. It undermines a lot of progress women and progressives try to achieve. No idiots here. The wedding doesn't sound fun. However, if I were your sister, I would be devastated that an immediate family member couldn't put their preferences on hold for a single evening to support me and instead go to a friend's wedding. You are the idiot. Not wanting to go is one thing, but I don't understand why you're surprised that I care more about being able to get drunk than showing up for my sister isn't going over well. Let alone your fiance's traditions are different from mine, and that makes them weird and wrong. You can't even really pretend you're taking a moral stance against gender segregation when you'd still be willing to think about it if at least there was booze. I, 40 male, and my wife, 34, have been married for a little more than 10 years. We've got 2 young boys. We have no real problems, or so I thought, in our relationship. I am an analyst for a public company. My wife is an administrator for our local council since the beginning of 2020. We make enough money to get by. However, since we've been working from home, I've noticed that my wife has been very distant towards me, always talking about work and not in a good sense. But when she's got a coworker on the phone, there's a lot of giggling, laughing, and so on. I've talked to her about this, mainly about my feeling that she's investing more time and effort in her coworkers than in our relationship. I get the global situation, and working from home has had an impact on us. She's had an outburst about how she hates the way I work. To clarify, she goes full in 8 hours a day. I do 8 hours a day, but take time for breaks, do my meetings while walking, have a chat with a coworker over Teams, and so on. I've been trying to rekindle our relationship by organizing a weekend getaway just for the 2 of us. A weekend in a luxurious hotel in an old castle not too far from here. The kids get a sleepover, and the grandparents and we get some time for ourselves. Well, things are slowly opening up around here, a bit too fast if you ask me, and we had a small drinks do with some of her coworkers and SOs. Long story short, some of the people had a lot to drink. I don't drink at the moment, I'm training for an upcoming trial. One of her male coworkers walked up to my wife, announced that he was my wife's work husband, put his arms around her and kissed my wife on the cheek. My wife responded by giggling and kissing him back on the cheek, and once on the neck. At the moment, I was more flabbergasted than upset. When we got home, I let her know I didn't appreciate this little stunt of hers and her coworker. I asked her how long her affair was going on. Her reaction was that there was no affair. I was overreacting and shouldn't take things so seriously. She went to bed, asked if I was coming, and I said no. She shrugged and went to bed, and I slept on the couch. The next day, I canceled the romantic weekend away and let her parents know why I canceled. And this might be a bit mean. Made an appointment with a friend of mine I haven't spoke to in quite some time. He works for a lawyer's office that does a lot of divorces, and I put the company's name in my calendar. I'm also going to chat with my wife's direct manager. There are some rules in place against fraternization. She is starting to realize she's messed up and is trying to have a conversation with me, only now I'm not having it. I would love to save this relationship, but this has to be a two-way street. On his neck? His neck? I'm floored. I can kinda see the cheek kisses, but I live in Europe, where that's a little more acceptable. But kissing him on the neck? That means one thing and one thing only: interest and intimacy. So either they're already having intimacy, or she wants to. Jesus Christ, she kissed his neck right in front of you? The audacity! I'm sorry, OP. That's weird, disrespectful, and just straight up cheating. The fact that she didn't care and dismissed your opinions when you first saw it wasn't okay, and further shows her disrespect for your relationship. She's also taking this emotional affair outside of work, and it's impacting your relationship. I would expect no contact outside of work with this guy, and minimal in work. If they think the relationship is fine, and there are no issues with fraternization, how could they argue against the spouse or company knowing what they are doing? Wow, what blatant disrespect from your wife and her coworker. I'm a 40-year-old woman, and I have never ever come close to being comfortable enough with a male coworker to wrap our arms around each other and kiss on the cheek and neck. I've never witnessed two coworkers doing that. It's not normal at all. And then when you confront her, she, of course, twists it around on you and claims you're overreacting. This is cheating one-on-one. Sorry to tell you that, man. Your wife is at least having an emotional affair with affection and flirting and touching. Still, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they are sleeping together. Keep that lawyer close to you and be suspicious of everything. My ex-husband cheated on me for 9 months. Take this seriously. I, 33 male, had a kid in high school with my high school sweetheart. We didn't stay together, but we co-parent our son, Mike, pretty well. He is now a teenager and starting his junior year of high school. There's no official custody support agreement, but we do her house or mine every other week. My ex just got married and is moving in with her husband soon. He seems like a good guy, and he has young twin boys. Apparently, Mike isn't a fan of his soon-to-be stepdad and thinks the twins are annoying. He told me when they move, he'd rather just live with me full-time. He said he told his mom and she was upset, but would let him make his own decision. The thing is, I actually enjoy this every other week thing a lot. I love having my own place half the time. I have a girlfriend who is here probably 70% of the time when Mike is at his mom's, but not too much when he's here, just to give him more room. I also have some friends over semi-regularly on the weekends that Mike isn't here. So this setup works for me. I told Mike I didn't think it was a good idea and he should try to build a relationship with his new stepfamily. He said he's going to college in 2 years, so he just has no desire for that. I really don't want to mess with the current custody situation, but then part of me feels like I'm being a crappy dad for that. His stepdad isn't toxic or anything, and they don't even fight. He's just a super talkative guy, and Mike thinks he's super annoying and doesn't want to give living with him a shot. If he did it for 6 months and still hated it, I'd let him move in full-time if his mom approved it. As of now, she was very sad about the request. She is a great mother. My kid wants to live with me full-time, but I got this girlfriend and I like it this way. Good Lord, you are the idiot. Your son comes before your friends. If it's only 2 years before college for him, then why don't you suck it up and put your child first? I'm baffled. The son is a teenager. Why can't you have your friends or girlfriend over when your son is over? He's not 3. He's old enough to do his own thing and watch himself. It's normal you want to have a life outside your child. However, it's weird that you seem to think having a life outside of a teenager depends on them not living with you. Why do you think this? You are the idiot. You don't want your son to live with you because it would cramp your style. He is old enough to decide what he wants. You are only saying no because you like being a part-time parent. Shared custody doesn't mean you're only a parent 50% of the time. I'm going with no idiots here. As a child of divorced parents, if Mike isn't in danger, I don't see the issue with OP encouraging him to figure it out. After all, If there was a formal custody agreement, being annoyed by stepdad doesn't quite constitute grounds for schedule change. Encourage Mike to ride it out and get to know the new members of his family. Stepdad will not be the last annoying person that Mike will meet, or probably live with for that matter. Not the idiot, because what happens when your son doesn't like your girlfriend and finds her kind of annoying? Is he going to demand she never come over so he can have exactly the type of home life he wants? He's old enough to understand that his parents have lives outside of parenting and that he may need to make accommodations for that, like living with his parents' spouse/partners. And putting your child first does not mean giving in to their every whim. I, 49 female, have always been deeply religious. However, apart from some important events, my mother's funeral mass or the weddings of one of my nieces, I have never forced any of my children to attend church. About a year and a half ago, my daughter Sarah, 18, told her father and me that she was a lesbian and an atheist. She said anti-religion. We congratulated her and reinforced that we will always love her as our daughter, no matter who she loves or what belief she has. Sarah informed me that she was uncomfortable with the cross and other religious images around the house. So, since I didn't want to be disrespectful, I moved them to my room. Sarah also asked me to stop praying before eating. Since I wanted to take care of my relationship with her, I stopped saying it aloud, and now I pray silently. The problem: I haven't stopped going to church, and Sarah can't stand that fact. Whenever I come back from Mass, she gives me a sermon about why going to church is wrong and how I am a hypocrite for continuing to go when I say that I support her orientation. This has been going on for at least 6 months. Today I went to a small meeting with ladies from the church. When I came back from the meeting, Sarah waited for me in the living room and again yelled at me that I'm a hypocrite and a sinner since I said I love her no matter what, including her orientation. Honestly, I'm fed up, and this time I couldn't keep quiet. I told her that I have tried to meet all of her demands, respect and love her, but I will not continue to let her yell at me every time I mention something about my religion. I told her that if she hates finding out that I'm going to church, the door is more than open for her to leave the house. My other daughter thinks what I said was okay, but my husband thinks I should act mature since I'm the parent. He said it cost me nothing to go secretly to Mass to prevent Sarah from finding out. I think that is not a way to live, and it's not fair to Sarah or me. My husband also said that I must apologize to Sarah. Whoa, what? It is wonderful that you love your child regardless if they agree with you or believe as you do, but she is not extending that same courtesy to you. Instead, she's actively forcing you to abandon your beliefs. Does she love you unconditionally? If you don't stand up to her, you're teaching her that it's okay to bully others for their beliefs. It cuts both ways, and you have done everything you can to let her know that you love her. Not the idiot, but your daughter sure is. You've been kind and respectful to her and have been much more supportive than many religious parents. She should stuff it and be grateful you didn't react poorly and throw her out. Your husband needs to grow up here and tell her to respect you and your choices as you did hers. And until she's paying the mortgage, put your religious imagery back up. Not the idiot. I am a trans and atheist, and I find pushing the lack of religion on others just as despicable as pushing religion. Your daughter wants you to respect her beliefs, but isn't offering you the same courtesy. My mother is a Catholic who goes to church every week. If she ever gets too old to go to church on her own, I will take her and sit with her through the whole thing because I love her and respect her choices and beliefs. I currently live with her, where there are crucifixes, little statues, Bibles, etc. I have never once asked her to move them.